Click on the subscribe button, especially the bell on the right side. Otherwise, you will miss the latest videos.
Yeah. So now I want to focus on how are we to improve our planetary karma with Mercury. This presentation has been thorough. We went into full detail as to all of the karmas with Mercury, both general and subtle. And then we looked at Mercury's current transit and all of its position in varying dignity to understand what is the nature of Mercury karma and how does it specifically manifest based on position. Now that we have a nice understanding of that, what can we do to improve our planetary karma with Mercury? Now, a lot of times during this webinar, we talk about different awarenesses to help improve our karma. But now we're going over specific upaya, remedy, that are going to be very specific that you can do to improve your planetary karma with Mercury. Now, Mercury rules Wednesday, so the most beneficial day of the week to honor Mercury is today, Wednesday. You can honor Mercury every day if you're a Mercury Mahadasha, Mercury Antardasha, Gemini Lagna, Virgo Lagna, Gemini Mercury, Virgo Mercury. You can honor Mercury every day, but the most beneficial day is Wednesday. We honor Mercury by wearing the color green, and we honor Mercury through traditional Mercury mantra, which we performed at the beginning of this webinar, which includes the full sutra, and then the repetition of the tantric or seed sound 108 times. We also honor Mercury through prayer in front of a well-designed Mercury yantra. Now, as far as ancient improvement with Mercury karma, we honor Buddhaji by wearing the gemstones emerald and green tourmaline on the pinky finger. And so here I have a emerald. This is a ruby and a red coral because all of these energies are conjunct in my 10th house. So when I'm doing work, it's helpful for me. So emerald is one of the best gems for Mercury. It is so amazing. It makes you more intelligent. So it increases your IQ, at least a few points. It helps with focus. It helps with concentration. For me, because of combustion with Mercury, it helps me from getting burnt out. It helps me protect my intellectual energy. It helps me stay focused, and it increases it. And so with people with Mercury karma, even if it's challenging, emerald is a very good gem for you to work with because it will improve the condition or quality of your buddhi, your intelligence. I like silver setting for Mercury gemstones, and there are different theories as far as, you know, hand, finger, but my general approach is, traditionally speaking, it's the right hand for male and the left hand for female. But I don't believe in these differentiations of gender as much. And so I kind of think that it should be more about the energies that we, on the right side of our body, energies are more active. On the left side of our body, our energies are more passive. So when we want to increase the overall energy of something, we wear it on the right side of the body. We want to decrease the negative energies of something, we remove it over the left hand. So you only wear gems which are in a positive position in your chart on the right hand. If you wear gems which are in a challenging position of your chart, they should be worn on the left hand. And that's only if you're right-handed. If you're on the left hand, it switches back around to the most dominant hand. So it's really about your hand, not right, left, but the hand which is dominant and then the hand which is passive. We also honor Buddhaji Mercury through honoring Vishnu. Okay, so Vishnu is the deva which is often associated with Mercury, and so rituals and traditions of Vishnu mantra are going to be very positive. Specifically, we honor Buddhaji through honoring the incarnation of Vishnu known as Balarama. Okay, we honor Buddhaji through honoring the Gautama Buddha, including rituals and traditional Buddha mantra. I think this is beautiful that the Vedic lineage has integrated Buddhism here. And so basically, Mercury is the planet which is associated with Buddhism. And interestingly enough, why is the planet of intelligence the Buddhist energy? Well, that is because in Buddhism, the goal is nirvana. And in order to get to nirvana, you follow the Eightfold Path. And in order to follow the Eightfold Path, you have to cease the fluctuations of the mind. The fluctuations of the mind take place in our intellectual capacity. So working with the intellect is ultimately also supposed to help us move beyond it. This is kind of that Buddhist path, which is to cease the fluctuations of the mind. And so for Buddhists, I recommend an inclination towards Mercury. And very interestingly enough, my brother, who I had mentioned to you, who has exalted Mercury, is Buddhism. So it can often show this indication. Just want to say hi. We'll rub his belly for good luck. So we also honor Buddhaji through offering green herbs, specifically Brahmi and Tulsi or other fresh herbs, to teachers because of the association with Mercury, friends, by the social, and then also the needy is always positive. So you want to offer green clothes, but the most positive thing to offer in honor of Mercury are fresh green herb. Fresh green herb to your teacher. So the best thing that you could do is to be a fresh herb to your teacher, but anything green to a teacher, friend, or needy is very positive. And the needy is also very positive for Mercury because Mercury and Saturn are friends. Saturn is connected to the needy. So working with the needy is very auspicious for Mercury. Now, moving on from the ancient perspective, kind of lifestyle aspects. What can we do in our lifestyle, in our daily life, to improve our planetary karma with Mercury? And the first is that it will greatly aid and improve our karma with Mercury to empower speaking and verbal communication in every aspect. This means that we should always communicate and speak our truth. And that in our evolution with Mercury, every single opportunity we have in our lives to speak or express ourselves must be taken. So if we want to improve our planetary karma with Mercury, we try to create opportunities for ourselves which we can speak and express. And if an opportunity comes, it must be taken. In other words, if you have given an opportunity in which you are to speak or in which you are supposed to express yourself or to communicate, and that you don't, it will hurt your karma with Mercury. So these opportunities of speaking, especially public speaking or speaking in front of a large group, are the best opportunities for us to improve our planetary karma with Mercury. And so taking something like a public speaking class can always be very positive. It will also greatly aid and improve our karma with Mercury to empower other forms of expression other than speaking, especially if Mercury is retrograde. This includes all forms of written communication, from the purely academic writing to that which is creative and brilliant. So all types of writing, really not limited. We will improve our planetary karma when we use our intelligence or buddhi to provide a service. We talked about this with Virgo. We also talked it as a karmic element with Mercury because of the Vaishya caste, the merchant caste, which is associated with Mercury. This includes, in the merchant or business sense, providing some type of service which might be financially rewarding. This means that you could have, you could be offering a travel agency, you could be offering a business consultation, but basically you are offering some type of service which might be financially beneficial to you or to the individual that you're providing the service to. Ideally, the service would carry some of the individual message which the soul carries, which we talked about relates to the sign and position of Mercury. So it's okay to provide a service in honor of Mercury and to make money off of that service, but you have to make sure that that service you're providing is in alignment with your message. But if ultimately the most positive thing you can do is a service that is selfless or humanitarian. This ultimate service towards humanity, which has no financial reward. And this is called seva, which is an offering to God, which is service to God. When we go to my guru's events, she has a long line of people signing up for seva to help do offering, to help create this kind of selfless service energy. We will improve our planetary karma with Mercury when we use our intelligence to improve the quality or condition of something, purification. This is usually an analytical process to improve something to its ideal state. So as soon as you find something that's, let's say, not in its best condition, you improve your karma with Mercury by using your intelligence to make that thing better. So you use your intelligence to perform this analysis, in which the flaws must be criticized and removed, and the strengths are empowered and focused on. Okay? One of the ways of improving things to their ideal condition through this analytical process, it actually does improve our quality of relationship with Mercury when we use our intelligence to improve things to their higher quality. We will also improve our planetary karma when we use our intelligence in the pursuit of knowledge. This is the teacher karma, the student karma, which is associated with Mercury. This includes all forms of education, but specifically those which are intellectually oriented, okay? So we improve our karma with Mercury when we learn, when we study. But when we're studying or learning something intellectual, that's even stronger to improve our karma with Mercury. This includes certain fields like philosophy, psychology, literature, academia, history, language, mathematics, and much more. Okay? And this includes formal education at all levels, which is helpful to improve our karma with Mercury, but also includes an intellectual knowledge, which can be one-on-one, like a tutor, a mentor, a guide, or a guru. If the knowledge that you are receiving from them is intellectual or logical, it will help improve your Mercury karma. We will improve our planetary karma with Mercury when we use our intelligence to be humorous. We improve this is one of the most enjoyable ways to improve our connection with Mercury, is to just try to have a good sense of humor. Humor is connected to the wit, and wit is connected to the intelligence and Mercury. Therefore, if we use our intelligence, our buddhi, to come up with jokes or funny things, and then express those jokes at an opportune moment, at the right time, then we will improve our karma with Mercury. So making a good joke and other people laughing is a boon from Mercury. We also improve our karma with Mercury whenever we engage in activities or thinking patterns which stimulate the intelligence. So whenever we do activities that are intellectually oriented, this is very good for improve our karma with Mercury. Mercury controls the buddhi, and therefore one of the best things that we can do to improve our Mercury is to use our discretion, to use our buddhi. Activities which support intelligence and improve our karma with Mercury include chess, listening to classical music, reading, writing, speaking, poetry, comedy, theater, learning, teaching, calculation, analysis, and math. Mercury is a social planet, and so greatly improves our karma with Mercury to perform these activities with friends or in groups. The best thing you can do is combine them. This is like a book or a chess club, which is a group of intellectual people meeting for an intellectual purpose. There's nothing better that you can do than to have these kind of meetings. It could even be an astrology club, Jyotish club, improvisational comedy groups, writing and speaking groups. This is all very positive to improve our planetary karma. Because I have to use my intelligence so often with the readings, I I have to keep my intelligence sharp. So I always try to activate this Mercury karma early in the day. I wake up, I have my cup of tea or coffee, and then I immediately play chess, usually for 1 to 2 hours, 1 or 2 games, depending on how long the games take. And this will be really helpful because then afterwards, my intellect is stimulated and I'm ready to begin this work. So it's very helpful when we improve our karma with Mercury that we do activities that enhance our intelligence, like chess, classical music, reading, writing, speaking, poetry, and all creative expressions as well. So to improve the planetary karma with Mercury, the mind, the intellectual mind, cannot be allowed to be dull or tamasic. Okay, now one of the things that is common that you see nowadays is the diseases of dementia, which we call Alzheimer's. Now, part of the reason that Alzheimer's is so common, although there are many explanations, it has to do with the water and the food and the air pollution. But on a deeper level, from a karmic perspective, the Alzheimer's occurs when we stop using our intelligence. In other words, you are more vulnerable to these diseases of the consciousness affecting you when you are not sharp anymore. So if you can focus to improve your karma by always doing these activities which are intellectually oriented, it will also be like prevention for any type of mental this type of dementia type illness or deterioration of the consciousness. So especially for those who have Mercury in the 6th house or the 8th house or the 12th house, they have to be they have to keep their mind sharp. The Rajasic Sattvic qualities of the mind must be emphasized and empowered over the Tamasic to improve our karma with Mercury. Therefore, to improve our karma with Mercury, we must keep our minds and intellect stimulated, which means this long list of activities that I mentioned, they should be done on a daily basis to always keep the mind sharp. Now, of course, depending on the work that you do, you might automatically do these things. But if you don't do them, to keep your karma with Mercury good, it's important to incorporate these things. Even if you can't do them every day, you should do them 1 week per Wednesdays, on Wednesdays. Now, when looking at the Ayurvedic remedy for Mercury, it gets rather unique because Mercury is a tridoshic planet. It does not have a specific dosha. And actually, Mercury's balance of dosha is greatly influenced by the signs and planets it's traveling with and is aspected by. So the dosha of Mercury is highly influenced by the energies that it's with, more so than other planets. The sun will always be Pitta, no matter what planet it is with. Mars will always be Pitta, no matter what planet it is with. But Mercury, its dosha changes by which planet or sign that it's with. Now, so therefore, we can't just say, oh, there's a general way with this dosha to improve your planetary karma with Mercury. You have to look at the condition of your Mercury to understand which dosha is influencing it. Is it a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha planet or sign? Mercury, while being tridoshic, certain Vedic lineages believe primary dosha of Mercury to be Vata because of the wind quality, high wind quality of Mercury. Communication is wind. So there is this vibration here that even though Mercury is tridoshic, it is of my personal opinion that it is at least 50 to 75% Vata. Okay, so now this can be changed by its influence, but Mercury on its own, Vata. Therefore, often when dealing with health difficulties related to wind element type Mercury, we are dealing with Vata. Therefore, these individuals need Vata balancing lifestyle and diet. Vata element is strongest when Mercury is in an air sign or conjunct with the Vata planet. So you know to focus on the Vata aspect of remedy with Mercury, if your Mercury is in Aquarius, if your Mercury is with Saturn, if your Mercury is with Rahu, or this, you know to work with Vata then. Now, there is also strong Pitta element of Mercury. because of its connection to intelligence. Intelligence comes from Pitta and the Buddhi. So due to the Pitta element aspect of Mercury, we also have to work on balancing the Rajasic qualities of the mind. Usually the health difficulties which relate to Vata physically are Vata, are with Mercury are Vata, but then the physical issues are Pitta. The mental issues are Pitta and the physical issues are Vata. So we have to work on balancing the Rajasic quality of the mind. And so this might become as hypercritical or an overly analytical nature. Those people need Pitta balancing lifestyle and diet. Pitta element is strongest in Mercury when it's in a fire sign like Scorpio, Aries or Sagittarius, and or conjunct with the Pitta planet like Mars or the Sun or Ketu. So let's take a look at a very close friend of mine's chart who had sent it in today, the beloved Medora G. Medora, your question was how to improve my planetary karma with Mercury based on my natal chart.
Yes.
You're Libra Lagna, and you have Mercury in Taurus in the 8th house with conjunction of Sun and Venus.
Right.
So when looking at how to improve planetary karma with Mercury in this natal chart, we find Mercury at 27 degrees, conjunct with the Sun and Venus in the Venus-ruled sign of Taurus, posited in the 8th house. Sun is 6 degrees from Mercury, and Venus is 8 degrees from Mercury. Mercury has good dignity in Taurus and has favorable conjunction with friendly planets, Sun and Venus. So Mercury friend with Sun and Venus here. Sun is 6 degrees, so there is mild combustion of Mercury, but it's not less than 5 degrees, so it's not heavy combustion. So, as far as the burnout, you're vulnerable to it at times, but not heavily. And but overall, Mercury appears to be very comfortable. The position of 8th house, however, does present some unique attribute and challenging karmic aspects too. This conjunction gives a nice unification of intellect, soul, and creativity / the beauty of life. Because of the conjunction of the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, life and the soul and the mind, they're all connected, which is quite beautiful, I think. Also, the position of these planets in the 8th house draws the intelligence and logic to unique hidden aspects of knowledge, including mysticism, occult, spiritual, astrological, and medical. So, for example, how my Mercury is in Scorpio, well, Mercury in the 8th house carries similar vibration, in which one's intelligence is attracted to the curiosity, to that which is unknown, to that which is outside of the box, which that might be mystical or esoteric in its natures. So I think that's this. So in order to satisfy the karmic situations that Mercury is encouraging in your chart, you must continue to grow in your mystical knowledge throughout your life. And so basically, Mercury is only satisfied if you're continuing to deepen your knowledge of all of your curiosities, specifically these kind of more mystical areas, which includes all spiritualities and religions, but also Ayurveda, Jyotish, and yoga, also all forms of healing, all forms of mysticism. So all of these areas, you must continue to always be deepening your knowledge in these areas. And that could be shown for astrology, too, that one of the ways that you satisfy your karma with Mercury is by continuing to always be a student in this area of your life, which I have no doubt that you will do. Now, in order, due to Mercury's position of conjunction with the Sun and Venus, this mystical knowledge must be deep from the soul level. So it's not just intellectual knowledge, but on some level, it's the knowledge what your soul has as well, or the knowledge what your soul is seeking. And it also has to be able, the knowledge also has to be able to provide pleasure, beauty, and quality to the life. That is why I thought of astrology, because that knowledge, it provides pleasure and quality to those individual lives. But basically, this knowledge what you are seeking, by its conjunction with Venus, it could either benefit you materially because Venus is the Lord of wealth, which means this knowledge could benefit you at some point financially. But ultimately, there's a connection here that it shall have to do with the beauty of life and the quality of life. So that will be helpful in terms of the knowledge as well. Now, due to Mercury's position in Taurus, the logical and intellectual will be used for accumulation, success, and acquisitions. And so this is a natural vibration. It's always good when Mercury is in Taurus because it is like a deep well of knowledge. It is a very deep well of knowledge here. So there is this aspect here by the position of Taurus that you will be accumulating knowledge, that this knowledge gets stronger and stronger and accumulates. And that accumulation of knowledge will have to do with your success as well. But with the Mercury in Taurus, it has good memory. So the knowledge that you are acquiring, it should be knowledge that you are able to remember, which is very good in this circumstance here, because at some level you're going to switch from the student to more of a teaching role. Mm-hmm. Now, so since this conjunction is posited in the 8th house, it suggests that the knowledge you shall acquire with your intellect should be mystical, occult, or esoteric in its nature. This means to improve your planetary karma with Mercury, you must use your intellect to first learn and have deep comprehensive knowledge of various mystical or occult fields. This includes Jyotish, Ayurveda, yoga, shamanism, and tantra, just as some possibilities. On a deeper level as well, by moksha influence of 8th house, because the 8th house represents knowledge of life and death. It represents knowledge of the afterlife and some knowledge as to the moksha process. So there should also be a certain amount of knowledge that you develop about what reincarnation is and the afterlife process. But because of Mercury, you will be able to understand it intellectually as well. Now, and that's why I think books about the afterlife will be very good for you. So after the wealth of comprehensive knowledge in the various unique areas is complete, then Mercury will seek for you to share the knowledge you have acquired, which is basically you will go from being a student of well, you'll always be a student, but you will also be activated as teacher. But but first, all of the comprehensive knowledge must be there. So there's the learning process. As we mentioned, it manifests in 3 parts, right?
Right.
The learning process, then we represent that information, and then we begin to share it. But I see this as a strong energy in your chart because Sun is Mercury. This is your soul's direction. This is your soul's fulfillment. So after you feel like you have the necessary amount of knowledge, I have no doubt that you will begin to share it. Because that's what Mercury ultimately wants, is for you to be a messenger of this information. So this is the second remedy for how to improve your planetary karma with Mercury, is to share and spread all of the knowledge that you have acquired through speech, writing, and technology.
Yes. Wow. Great. Amazing.
Good. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for the analysis of the karma. Really, really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And does that resonate with you?
Yes, completely.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, great. Wonderful. That was really fun, Medora, and I hope in future webinars we can look at some of your karmas with the other planets as well.
Yes, sure, definitely. My pleasure.
So is Joshua here?
Yes, I think, yes, she's there. I'll make a panelist.
Joshua Joshi.
Yes.
Hey, Joshua, just let me try to unmute you there. Hey, Josh.
Okay. Hey. What's up? Namaste.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
And you're joining us from
London.
From London. Wonderful.
Yeah.
How have you enjoyed the webinar so far?
So far, it's been absolutely amazing.
Oh, I'm
Really.
so happy to hear that,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
And it's been nice getting to know you over these past few weeks.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we'll be doing some work together in the future as well.
Please God, yeah, maybe.
So my question, or your question, is you mentioned that your Lagna and Moon are in Gemini.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Gemini, so you're ruled by Mercury. And that Mercury is in the 6th house of Scorpio, along with Venus.
Yep.
Okay, so we have Mercury-Venus conjunction, and it's actually just over 1 degree, so barely over 1 degree of separation.
Yep.
And so what is realistically about this placement? So basically, what is the nature of this placement?
Can I also add something to this? I mean, because it's in Scorpio, and the ruler is Mars, and Mars is in Gandanta, so if you can give that angle as well. Right? So.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. So first, let's look at the position. Now, you mentioned you're Gemini Lagna, and so with the rulership from Mercury, your ruling planet is going to be a big karmic player. So just by the fact that you're ruled by Mercury means that Mercury is going to have a more significant lifelong influence than other planets. And on some level, because of its influence on the Lagna, it is connected to some aspect of your Dharma. Okay. Now, Mercury has position in the sign of Scorpio, conjunct with Venus, just barely over 1 degree of separation. This conjunction has posited itself in the 6th bhava, which relates to the artha aim of life, your prosperity, success, and financial security. Now, that's the aim of life, not the area. Now, generally speaking, Mercury does well in Scorpio, even though the relationship between Mars and Mercury can be challenging. This is because the nature of Scorpio, more so than the relationship between Mars and Mercury. But as you mentioned, there's the Mercury is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars, and the Mars is in Gandanta. This gives a certain amount of signification to that rulership as well. So you definitely do want to address the Mars rulership there. This relationship between Mars and Mercury in your chart can be challenging. This is because buddhi and intellectual capacity combine auspiciously with our curiosity and investigative nature when Mercury is in Scorpio. This means that you will have good intelligence looking at Mercury's sign alone, but that often that is intelligence is attracted to vibrations which relate to Scorpio, similar to Medora and I, like mysticism, occult, medical, spiritual, and kind of outside of the box curiosities. Also, Mercury is very friendly with Venus, and so you find yourself with the very unique Buddha Shukra Yoga. The 6th house is considered Upachayasthanas, which means a growth, is a marker for evolution through self-improvement. This means the conditions and qualities of these houses get better along with our growth and evolution throughout our lifetimes. So basically, the rewards of these houses are basically related to how great we can grow and evolve. So that's important. Generally speaking, this is considered a challenging house for any planet to be posited in, but is a natural house for the energy of Virgo, because Virgo is the 6th sign and the 6th house is Virgo house, which is, so therefore the position of Mercury in the 6th house is actually considered a signification position, and Mercury gets stronger in the 6th house. Even though it's a challenging house, it's more comfortable than most planets in the 6th house. Mercury is one of the most comfortable planets in the 6th house. So in your karmic evolution with Mercury, you will be greatly rewarded through Upatraya, which is the spiritual evolutionary process through your self-improvement and growth. And we can pejoratively understand this as self-help. So there's a strong connection between bettering yourself and self-help, and also the karma with Mercury here. Now, Mercury and Venus are so close in degree that much of their energies are unified and combined. So there's not, and the sun is far enough away there, so there's not there's not any combustion going on. Much of the energies are unified and combined. So on some level, your intellect and your senses, because Shukra is the lord of the senses, are integrated and combined. So there's an integration of the sensual and the logical. This is actually somewhat beneficial. It kind of shows there's somewhat of a beauty in the communication as well. When we talked along earlier with the combination of Mercury and Venus, Venus can really give a lot of refinement and sophistication and beauty to the energies of the Mercury. In this sense, on some inherent level, this is integrated and combined. This can also be understood as logic and beauty being combined, or reason and pleasure are being combined. So sometimes these energies are unified here. So since conjunction is in the 6th house, you may find the karma associated with the work that you do or the services that you provide. So the 6th house has a strong karmic suggestion to work. This is also an inherent energy of Mercury through its connection to Virgo. However, with 6th house activation, the work that we are doing might not always resonate on the deepest level as our career or life purpose. Okay, so these two energies that are activating, they're activating the second aim of life, which is finances, prosperity, and success, and the work that you're doing. But the work that you're doing, which is activated here, is very different from the work that might resonate in the most positive way. The work in the 6th house often does not resonate with us in the most positive way. Oftentimes, the work in the 6th house, it really feels like work, okay? Which means that we might be getting money from it, but it's not fulfilling or it's not rewarding. It feels like work. It feels like service. It feels like maybe I'm putting more in than I'm getting out, or that this isn't deeply connected. So a heavy activation here does bring in certain suggestions that you will often find yourself doing certain work that might not be the most rewarding, that might not be the deepest connected to your life purpose. But at the same time, the combination of Mercury and Venus should be making you capable of doing that work well. In other words, that hyper capability aspect, and also bringing some creativity into it. So even though it might not ultimately resonate as the greatest thing, you're still able to do it in a very unique way. So those are just some of the things that, yeah, so the work in the 6th house feels like work, which means we are providing a service, and due to this conjunction, that which you provide combines intellect and creativity with mysticism, the unknown, and the spiritual by the Scorpio. Through Artabhava here, to improve karma with Mercury, you would have great potential yourself to use your intellect and creativity to provide a unique and possibly healing service. So if you can take that intellectual gift and combine it with the creative gift, and to create that into some type of service that you could provide that would benefit others, I could see this really benefiting you. So again, I think of this as kind of a business type situation, but it could also be more selfless or humanitarian. But I think specifically by the 6th house, this service that you're providing, it should have some type of financial reward. So that's why I said possibly a healing service, because the 6th house is the first 3 stages of disease. Samprapti, Ayurveda has 6 stages of disease. So in the first 3 stages of disease, they haven't made any permanent changes of the body. They've just created some imbalance and aggravation. So it's not like the service that you would be providing would necessarily be curing cancer, but maybe people who struggle with certain health difficulties, you're giving them a better quality of their life. You know, or something like that. Something I was feeling along you helping the quality of other people's life. And with Venus, it should be pleasurable. So I certainly feel that the service you're providing could be pleasurable in its nature as well. Now, Mercury's strong influence and position in 6th house means you growing and evolving every time you focus your intellectual energies on mysticism, spirituality, or service to the betterment of humanity. Eventually, through this evolutionary vibration because of the Upachaya sixth house, although it might feel like work with little material gain at certain times, ultimately, to continue to provide this gift to others through service or seva, which again, I said this because there might be not as much reward as there should be, that eventually you will also gain individual success, reputation, and financial prosperity, because it's all supporting the second aim of life, Artha Bhava. So even though the work feels like work, it might not always be the most rewarding, eventually it will pay off here with success, reputation, and prosperity.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. So how does all of that resonate, brother?
Well, it sounds good. I mean, it sounds sort of perfect. Because the funny thing is, my professional, skilled at creating softwares and applications and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the Venus element, working with the UI and UX side of things.
Exactly. It's that nice combination of creative and technological energies.
Yeah, but as you said, like it's, I don't sort of enjoy it because it seems like work. However, I do enjoy the mystical side of things, spiritual side of things more. But I guess if that becomes work, then that also will become sort of,
Yeah. Now, just to touch on this, because this is not specifically Mercury, but because we talked about sixth house and work, it's worth mentioning that Pisces rules your 10th house of career, and Jupiter's in Leo in third house. Whenever Pisces is in the house of career, the more rewarding work might be intuitive.
Right. Okay.
So it's saying it's possible for, if you work in some intuitive work, this will be very positive. It might be more rewarding, but and it also, Jupiter's in Leo, so it might help with your prosperity. You could become a leadership. So I would just, even though this is the work, which is the majority of hours that you have spent, that whether it's astrology or something like a mystical oriented religious path, but basically there's something there that's also could either be a hobby, that it could be work that you do as well.
Right. And then is the Gandhanda position of Mars?
Yeah.
How's that influencing the whole bigger picture? Like,
so the Gandhanda influence of Mars, very interestingly enough, usually is a good position for Mars, is going to be basically, so by its connection to the third house is ambition and motivation. Mars is very comfortable in the third house because this is a house where energy is needed, and then Mars is the planet of energy. So even though the work that you're doing will feel like work, and you should always kind of have the energy to do it.
Yep.
In other words, Mars is supporting the energy here Mars is actually giving you ambition and motivation to do this work.
Yep.
And Jupiter kind of orienting it more to the career life purpose, a different kind of motivation.
Yeah.
It was nice to look at your chart with you, brother.
One last thing. I mean, as of now, if you look at the current transit, I think Mercury and Saturn are in Sagittarius at 4 degrees, and I think my moon is also at 4 degrees. It's quite an interesting observation.
Sure. So Saturn would be heavily aspecting your moon there, and your lugna. So that would create a lot of delays and obstacles and challenges at the time. Mercury there would at least be helping you to you would be able to understand those things. In other words, your ability to logically understand that should be able to give you some peace of mind to know that that's temporary.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hope to see more of you in the future, brother.
Yep. Please go. Yeah. Okay.
Namaste. Okay, George.
Yes, so I think we have him. Yes. I'll promote into the panelist.
Hi there.
Hi, George.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much. I got your note this morning. Thank you so much. Yeah. Just give me one moment. I
Take your time.
just have a note. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll be right
Sure.
back. 1 second. Hello, George.
Hello again.
Thank you for your patience. So, the question that you sent in is, my birth dasha is ruled by Mercury, which Mercury has not so good position in Rashi. Being in the 12th house in Gandanta and quite close to the galactic center in Mula Nakshatra, the deity of this nakshatra is Nariti, the goddess of destruction, she who has the power to ruin, destroy, and break things apart. Despite all of my good intentions, precaution and mindfulness, it happened to me several times in my life, both in the professional, 6th house Gemini, and spiritual area, 9th house Virgo, to cause troubles, to destroy and break things apart with my communication, and also having Rahu in the 2nd house, or Mercury itself being in the 2nd house from Chandra Lagna, shows again the troubles I might be able to cause with my communication or speech. How should I improve my karma with Mercury?
That's right.
Here we have George's chart. For those of you who have been attending these webinars, it might be looking a little bit familiar now. So when looking at the basic levels of your Mercury karma, you have done a good analysis yourself, as you always do. You mentioned Mula Nakshatra and Nariti and how that might have caused you certain troubles in your Mercury karma. You also astutely noted Buddha's position in Moksha Bhava and at Gandanta point in 0 degree. This conjunction, many indications that are both auspicious and positive, but also comes with some challenges. With Nariti influence in Mula Nakshatra, with Nariti can also bring us closer to moksha. So I wanted to mention that. With Nariti influence in Mula, it is noted that Mariti also brings us closer to moksha. So as you mentioned, being connected to destruction, but also connected to moksha. Mercury in Gandanta is, sometimes Nariti is called the goddess of death. Mercury in Gandanta in Moksha Bhava has profound signification for one's spiritual evolution. In other words, your spiritual evolution and your moksha process is connected with Mercury. And although we touched on that a little bit in this webinar, I like your example as a good example of that connection between our Mercury karma and moksha. So ultimately, these spiritually united your relationship with Mercury and with moksha. This connection between moksha and Mercury could manifest in two ways, as these are not mutually exclusive. First is that your path to moksha requires a certain amount of your intellectual discrimination. And for you, this conjunction in Sagittarius, it also has a lot to do with morals, ethics, and principles, basically being a good person. Therefore, your intellect is vital to spiritual evolution, and ultimately suggesting that even though Mercury rules 6th and 9th bhava activation also emphasizing the spiritual evolutionary process, which falls back into the 12th house. Also, that connects some of the work from the 6th house which is Ardha Bhava with the moksha elements in the 12th house as well. So everything's kind of going back to moksha. Ultimately suggesting on some level, because of all energy travels back into 12th house, that the orientation with Mercury is to moksha. Therefore, 12th house indicates certain losses, sudden changes, lack of groundedness or stability in the material world, again, which orients you towards a more spiritual evolutionary aspect at the sacrifice of the work material from the 6th house aspect. Therefore, the second aspect I really wanted to mention from a remedial perspective to improve the karma with Mercury and align to this kind of 12th house Mercury Bhava, it would suggest that ultimately there must be no attachment towards one own's intellectual, rational, or logical understanding of things. Because whenever there are planets, things in the 12th house, we have to give up that planet for moksha. We have to give up of those energies. So here, in order for you to get to moksha, there has to be some giving up of the intellect. There has to be giving up of the logic. So on some ways, an over-intellectual focus could be seen as somewhat of as an obstacle. Therefore, the second aspect, there could be no attachment towards one's intellectual or rational understanding. That also with this conjunction, one cannot be too attached to one's memories either. Mercury and the 12th house has this letting go of memories because of Mercury's connection to them. Ultimately here from 12th Bhava influence, it might be suggesting that even though the intellectual energy is used to understand what moksha is, your understanding of reincarnation and moksha through everything that you've studied, you had to use your intellect to get there, but that ultimately that your surrender of your intellectual understanding is the greatest moksha of all.
Thank you so much. An amazing analysis as usual. Although I have missed the first part of the webinar, well, you know, Mercury is retrograde, and I arrived a little bit late at home. I forget to add to my question. Does that mean anything, or certainly it means something that my Mercury in the D9 in the Navamsha is in my Lagna, so therefore it has a Digbala, it has a directional strength over there.
Certainly does. Yeah, and whenever a planet is in the 12th house in natal chart and in the Lagna in Navamsha, it shows a very interesting karma. It kind of shows that although it might be manifesting these aspects that we talked about, that ultimately the D9, I like to call it shortly the Dharma chart. And then the Lagna in the D9 is the first Dharma house in the Dharma chart. So even though ultimately you are to surrender all of these things for your spiritual evolution, it's part of your Dharma. You know, like your intellect, your strength, your logic, it's part of who you are. It's part of your Dharma. Ultimately, though, I don't know. I guess I'm sure you find interesting the idea of using the intellect to understand what moksha is, but then eventually surrendering that. But eventually, because of the Mercury Lagna in the D9, it is also part of your Dharma to use your intelligence and to be an intelligent person.
I see. Thank you. Only a short mention. I think that being a Buddhist practitioner for more than 15 years, I think that I'm doing my best to worship and to improve my planetary karma with Mercury.
Definitely.
Because,
and Mercury in 12th house, which means moksha and Buddhism are deeply connected. This shows that your version of moksha could be very much nirvana.
Wow, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Happy birthday again, and namaste.
Thank you, George G. Namaste. Okay, the last question that we have here is Dinesh G.
Okay, I'll make him panelist. Dinesh ji?
जी बोलो हेलो
Hey,
Namaste.
Dinesh, ji,
नमस्ते
can you hear me?
नमस्ते जी
Can you hear me well?
हाँ नमस्ते जी हैप्पी yes 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 of course I can hear you
Okay, fantastic. Happy you were able to attend our webinar today.
happy birthday to you
Medora ji, I guess his internet's a little shaky.
Yes. Dinesh ji?
first of all
It's not coming out clear. I don't really understand.
Dinesh ji? Uh,
Well, the most important thing is that he's here, so
yes.
we can have
Yes,
the
yes.
question answered. So the
Yes,
question,
right.
hello. Kindly guide me how
yes yes
I improve aspects related to Mercury in my life, and how the position of Mercury is either making my life easy or difficult.
yes yes
I like your question a lot, especially because of the unique position of Mercury in your chart. I mean, immediately you see this, you're like, wow, this is good material.
yes yes
You have an debilitated retrograde conjunction. So this is really good material to look at Mercury karma. Now, when you're looking at your query as to Mercury's position, influence, and how to improve karma, we must look at the position and find a strange phenomenon, okay? At an initial glance, we observe Mercury retrograde
yeah
in position of debilitation of Pisces in Lagna at 12 degree, in conjunction with Mars at 9 degrees, so 3 degrees of separation. This certainly creates a mixed karmic effect for Mercury, and a very powerful one as well. When a debilitated planet is retrograde, a phenomenon occurs and it begins to act exalted and auspiciously at times. Mercury and Mars conjunction here provides a powerful effect. On some level, one's instincts and actions will be deeply integrated with the logical and the rational. Ultimately, a balance between the two is sought, which all actions have great thought and intellect before them and part of them. On the challenging side, this conjunction manifests to favor impulse over logic or reason at times. Mercury debilitation or exaltation retrograde effect causes one's communication to manifest in an unusual expression. Although the conjunction with Mars shows an emphasis towards action versus words, the statement, actions speak louder than words, my friend, is especially true for you as it relates to your nature and your karma with Mercury. However, this debilitation will act exalted, and what you are communicating will be coming from an extremely proud, deep, and well thought out place, and these communications have the power to cause great influence, changes, and transformation. To improve the planetary karma with Mercury, specific to your chart, Dinesh, a focus on the balance with intelligence and action. There is both a challenge and blessing in this area, and the blessing is realized by striking a proper balance between these two. This means when it comes to actions and the impulsiveness behind them should be completely avoided. So you should never be impulsive behind your action. A great amount of logic and intelligence should be integrated into the actions before it's taken. So I want you to think real heavily before any actions. In other words, is this action I'm about to take considered smart? Is this action that I'm about to take rational or logical? Does it make sense? These are the questions I want you to ask. Answering these questions before you take any actions will help to improve your karma with Mercury. Also, you should not think or speculate for the thought's sake alone. You should not think for thinking's sake because of Mars-Mercury conjunction. But in your chart, the thoughts or speculation should be put into action. Therefore, thoughts should be oriented to lead towards positive actions in due time, not for thoughts or speculations or sake alone. So I really only want you to focus on your thinking if it can lead toward action.
Okay. Okay. How can I improve my communication? Hello.
Hello. What was the question?
How can I improve my communication?
So to improve your communication with this vibration, it's going to be really helpful for you to kind of focus your energy towards intellectual things. So you need to be speaking, reading, writing, and expressing yourself whenever possible. Okay. Thank you, Dinesh ji.
It's really difficult for me. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now to conclude our webinar today, I want to look at Yogananda ji's chart. This was voted on by various members of the astrological community on my page. Now, when looking at Yogananda ji karma with Mercury, let's first at the fullness of Buddha position. Now, Mercury is in the 5th house in Sagittarius Rashi, okay, at Gandanta point, much like our friend George, in conjunction with Sun at 23 degrees. Mercury generally has neutral friendly position in Sagittarius and allows one's communications to be ethically, morally, philosophically, and spiritually oriented. This is certainly true for Yogananda ji, who embodied the value and teachings of the yamas and niyamas and shared that message with the world. This guy's Mercury karma was very evolved because he knew what his message was, he embodied that message, and he shared that message. So he's manifesting the Mercury karma on all 3 levels. So some of the most auspicious effect of Yogananda Mercury relates to the position in 5th house, conjunct with Mercury 23 degrees apart. There is no combustion of Mercury here, so it can act independently and show strong intelligence without burnout. In other words, Yogananda is not going to get burnt out. But also, conjunction with Sun provides expression at a soul level and brilliance. So basically, the Sun and Mercury are perfect degree of separation from each other. Also, of this karma is concentrated in 5th house of Dharma and education. Therefore, there is a strong messenger dharma for Yogananda ji. It is part of his dharma to be messenger that is coming with the soul's wisdom from Sun. The 5th house has significations with dharmas which are connected to our past lifetimes. And therefore, these karmas as a messenger of truth, spirituality, yoga, and righteousness are from Yogananda ji's past lifetimes as well. This isn't the first time that Yogananda was an ambassador of his teachings. So our time has gone very long today. It's currently, we've gone almost 4 hours.
Yes.
So I don't think we're going to do any live questioning today, but I really hope that everyone enjoyed how to improve our planetary karma with Mercury. It was such a great honor for me to talk about this wonderful planet. Oftentimes when people looking at chart, they forget about Mercury. Mercury is such an important planet for us to work our throat chakra, for our evolution in terms of our message and our intelligence and our communication, and should be honored equally along with every other planet. So I hope everyone really enjoyed this webinar today.
Yes, truly, we all enjoyed the webinar and you actually covered everything. Everything about Mercury, all aspects of Mercury, including combustion, retrogression, and remedies, Ayurveda, and examples. So, thank you so much, Kṣaṇāti. And it's your birthday, but still, you are here and you have given us 4 hours of webinar, and it's really amazing. And thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Medora ji.
All the participants, thank you so much for attending the webinar. You've all the whole series of how to improve our planetary karma, and we look forward for your participation. And do check out our YouTube channel as well, and we will be really happy to answer the questions under the videos, comments,
Yes, please
as
comment
much as possible.
anytime on the video.
Yeah, and you can contact him on the details mentioned on the screen. So thank you so much, all of you, for attending the webinar, and thank you so much for being there with us.
Thank you, Medora.
Thank you, Kṣaṇāti, once again.
Thank you, Medora.
And
Special thanks to Sunil John as well. Always thinking of you.
yes, he's always there. Thank you, and bye-bye, everybody.